memory, and you're trying to, if I get my head around late and the ball's coming, I can still pick it up at
anticipation, peripheral vision, things like that.
Yes, and his strength is those weak muscles that you don't work on. He's one of the hardest workers ever, man.
Yeah, you said that.
And he's doing it, we can see, obviously, he's balancing on
a balancing ball.
But then also he has some weight restrictions on his arm.
Yeah, so he can strengthen his muscles in the, that's what you call on-the-field type training. He's strengthening the muscles that he would use to reach for the football, sports-specific. That's where everything's getting. He's training his eyes. He's training his hands. He's even training his arms.
Those muscles, those you call practical strength, as opposed to the show muscles you say some of the guys have. Like, those are the muscles he actually needs. Functional strength, not practical.
Yes.
Can I state the obvious? Damn, look at his body.
He's unbelievable, man.
Look at that body. Okay, now let's move on.
It's hard to stay in shape. You make $20 million a year. What do you got to do? Stay in shape.
Stories to start your morning. Yesterday it was revealed that Kawhi Leonard signed a 3-year deal worth $103 million with the Clippers. Many thought he'd sign for 4 years. See, what'd you make of Kawhi's new deal?
It lets you know that he has to be a free agent after the 10 years of service, setting him up. He just finished his 8th year. Very, very smart by his agent. And Kawhi and his team let me know that it was on the board for him signing short-term deals. There's a little miscommunication between me and them as far as was it going to be a long-term, because the general public thought that only a short-term deal existed with the Raptors. He was not going to sign a long-term deal with any team.
And again, people should understand, as you mentioned, Jenna, the longest he could have signed with the Clippers was 4, which would have been a 3+1. He ends up signing a 2+1, but it also keeps the scrutiny and the pressure on the Clippers. Not that Ballmer and Doc Rivers and that crew wasn't going to do everything they could to win already, but he and Paul George could walk out the door in 2 years, and then the Clippers would be left without their own draft.
No way to rebuild.
No way. 2022 to 2026, those 5 drafts, OKC either has the pick or has a pick swap. So critical 2 seasons coming up for the Los Angeles Clippers, even more than we thought.
All right, injury update now on Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins is injury-free. Boogie tore his quad in the first round of the playoffs against the Clippers. He was able to come back and play in the finals, but clearly he wasn't fully healthy. Boogie now says his quad is 100% healed. All right, Nick, what are fair expectations then for Cousins next season?
Well, listen, I think Boogie can still be a guy that gives you at least 15 and 8 if he gets the minutes available to do that. If he plays 24, 26 minutes a game. I don't want to hold against him what I saw in the finals. It's hard not to, but when we saw him tear his quad in his second playoff game ever, we thought that was going to be the last we ever saw of him with Golden State. He fought all the way back, basically cut a month off the expected recovery time, and then he looked really bad a lot of the time once we saw him back, and that's your most vivid memory of Boogie. But if he had not fought it all the way back, we wouldn't have had that memory, and we'd have said, man, he was looking good the final month of the regular season. I'd like to afford him that benefit of the doubt, but it is hard because it looked like he couldn't jump 4 inches off the ground in those NBA finals.
The best thing about him announcing he's 100% now is we got about 2.5 months until training camp opens. He won't be rehabbing this year. Last year, all he did was rehab. Rehab workouts are totally different than I'm trying to get ready for endurance and trying to get ready to play an 82-game schedule. To me, Boogie Cousins is the best value at $3.5 million in the league. Tell me another player as good as him. 3.5, that's all you're paying for him. So it's not like we're paying this guy 10 or 15 million. There's a lot of guys in the league making 10 million, and they're not very good at basketball. I believe this is going to be one of his better off seasons, and he'll fit in with the Lakers well.
All right, let's talk some football. Folks over at Pro Football Focus have predicted that Ezekiel Elliott will win his 3rd rushing title this season. Zeke would be the first back to win 3 rushing titles in 4 seasons since Barry Sanders.
Wow.
So you think Zeke will lead the league in rushing next season?
I knew when he came into the league, he would lead the league as a rusher for a number of years. He's the best pure runner that we have in football. Couple won the best offensive line. The last couple years, offensive line hadn't been good. It's been Zeke, more Zeke than them. This year, they should be a little bit more healthy. Yes, he's the best pure runner that we have. You add Amari Cooper. You put Randall Cobb in the slot. This is the best offense that Ezekiel Elliott would have played on since his days at Ohio State.
And I wonder if that actually might prevent him from winning his third rushing title in 4 years, because if the Cowboys' passing attack takes the steps forward that they hope it does, with Amari Cooper being there for a full offseason and the full year and the addition of Randall Cobb, not having to rely on Zeke quite.
Most of the time, it doesn't work that way. If he leads the league in rushing, if their offense can score in the red zone, if they're one of the top 5 teams on third down conversions, that's how everyone's ever able to eat. I played on a lot of talented offenses, and man, them third downs become important. You know why? Because you get another 3 downs to be able to spread it around.
Sure.
And in the red zone, you got to score points. I wouldn't be surprised if he scored 20 touchdowns.
Well, that's what I was about to say, is I think what's more important for the Cowboys is if he can lead the league in touchdowns rather than just rushing yards.
All right, let's finish up with some basketball. Sixers currently have the second best odds to win the East behind the Milwaukee Bucks. However, Philly forward James Ennis thinks that Philly is going to walk to the finals now that Kawhi is out west. You agree, Nick? Do you think the Sixers are legit contenders for the finals next season?
Well, I do not agree, but I do absolutely think they're legit contenders for the finals. What James Ennis said is ridiculous. Like, that's a foolish comment for a team. He's going to be their 6th man. I mean, he's bounced around the league a bit.
He did play well in the playoffs.
He did play well in the playoffs, but he is clearly, at best, he's the 5th best guy on that team. He's probably the 6th or 7th best guy on that team. We'll see what Zaire Smith and Josh Richardson do for them this year. But listen, Philly has the ability to be the best team in the Eastern Conference. I need to see the fit. I need to see if they can be as dominant defensively as I believe they have the personnel to be. They are going to start one of the longest teams one of the tallest teams we've ever seen start in an NBA season. When Josh Richardson's your smallest guy, when the median height of your starting lineup is 6'10", that is a long arm imposing
when you bring Al
defense.
Horford into that mix.
Absolutely right. Al Horford is one of the smartest players in the league, and even though his athleticism is not very good, he can knock down shots and is an excellent all-NBA caliber defender. But the X factor for Philly, and I'm sure Chris will expand on it, is of course going to be Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons comes back better, if Ben Simmons comes back to where he is not a liability at the end of games offensively and a liability in a playoff series, then Philly can go man for man with Milwaukee. Even if Giannis is better than Embiid, Embiid's close enough that the rest of the roster for Philly would outshine what Milwaukee has, but that assumes something that I did assume year 1 to year 2, but I got burnt by it, so I can't assume year 2 to year 3, which is that Ben Simmons expands his range a little bit. I was dead wrong after his rookie season, saying, of course he'll get better, of course he'll get in the gym. Even if he doesn't have a 3-point shot, he'll have mid-range shot. He didn't. He was 2 of 25 last year outside of 16 feet. So they have a clear ceiling in Philadelphia unless Ben Simmons improves, no matter what James Ennis says. But because Kawhi left, they are, without a doubt, one of the 2 best teams in the conference.
Yeah, I don't like people, especially who don't have championship experience, putting out these types of sound bites when now the rest of the team, they got to be able to vouch for it.
They got to answer for it.
This is not about fit in Philly, even though they've made some changes. This is about 2 things. One, you mentioned as far as the fit with the players, but it's not about the fit. It's about fitness. Fitness and jump shot, all right? Joel Embiid and his fitness, is he ever going to get himself in the top shape that's not a detriment, that he's not missing games, missing time, because he doesn't have an NBA pro diet. He doesn't have someone cooking his food. He's still eating Taco Bell. I got friends that see Joel Embiid a lot of times in Philadelphia, and I'm not talking about at the basketball arena. And Joel Embiid and what he puts in his body, that has been part of the issue. Now, he's hired someone. He's working with someone here in New York. So that's the update on his body. He's doing something about that. What's the update on Ben Simmons' jump shot? Didn't you guys get it? Didn't you guys see the video?
No.
Oh, that is the update. Yeah. It ain't no better. You know the reason why? The season's been over with a month, and he ain't put no video out there. There ain't no good video to put out there, Jenna. It's as simple. In the offseason, that's when you are able. To me, I used to break down my game with my coaches and say, what are the weakest routes that I run in the passing tree? Because this offseason, those routes, I will move up to be a priority. I won't even run the things that I'm very, very good at. And that's how the best players we've ever seen in any sport, that's how the good become great. That's how the greats become legends. And y'all let me know when y'all see some video of Ben Simmons, because I'm sick and tired of my buddy over here appropriating. Oh, yeah, he's going to get to the gym. Oh, yeah, he's going to get
That was a year ago. I said I learned my lesson on it. I assumed he would do what most blue chip young players do.
Tom Brady's outrun the 40-yard dash at 42. You know the reason why? Because he wants you to know, Jenna, I'm one of the best that's ever done it, and no young kid's going to take my spot. Antonio, you think we ain't got nothing better to do but to show him up there on the bouncing ball with the goggles?
True.
No, because that's what you're supposed to do.
All right. Well, I know Ben Simmons is the obstacle right now for the Sixers, but wouldn't the other real X factor be Giannis? I mean, isn't Giannis going to be the real X factor for the Sixers?
Milwaukee right now gets to go into the season as the clear favorites in the East because not only they have the best record, but the team that knocked them out is now totally different. Kawhi Leonard put the claw on Giannis and it changed that series. So usually we would say, hey, you got to beat the champs, but it's not that dissimilar to the Cavs were 4-time defending Eastern Conference champs last season. Did it seem like it? No, because LeBron left the team. They were a different team. Toronto won't be that bad, but they will be a different team. But Embiid is in the top of that very next tier of NBA stars. Like if Giannis is in that top 7 superstar tier, Embiid's at the very top of the next tier. Tobias Harris is a max player. I think he can go eye to eye with Chris Middleton. Al Horford can go eye to eye with Brook Lopez. Like their top of the roster matches up well. And so the question is, Ben Simmons, Eric Bledsoe. Bledsoe struggled in the playoffs, but was not the liability that Ben Simmons was, and we kind of know what we're getting from Bledsoe. If Ben Simmons improves, then James Ennis can be proven correct. They won't cakewalk, like that's a silly comment. If he doesn't, then they will be limited, especially against a team in a series as good defensively.
I'm willing to bet you a significant amount of money as far as Ben Simmons, his percentages outside of 10 feet, and the three-point line. Oh, that's like a foreign country. You can forget the three-point line. I mean, he'll never be able to shoot out there.
He made 2 shots outside of 16 feet all year, which seems impossible. But
so you know something?
Yeah.
Last year, he only made 2 more shots than me.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
And only took 25 of them. It's unbelievable.
All right, moving on to things that we can infer from Instagram postings. Yesterday on the gram, Russell Westbrook liked a picture of himself wearing a Miami Heat jersey, even though he's still a member of the OKC Thunder. A new report says that the Heat willing to take on Russ's money and Russ's personality. All right, how does Russ need to adjust his game moving forward if he wants to be more effective?
Well, the thing about it, Russ has got to play with some veteran players. You can't put Russ on a young team. Also, you got to put Russ with some guys that can shoot the basketball. Typically, you would think if OKC is going to be at their absolute best, they got to be a top 10 defensive team. They got to be a team that plays with a lot of pace. Him and Steven Adams in the pick and roll, very, very effective. But Russ's ability to go off the bounce, get into the lane, break down the defense. But when you have only limited shooters, and if you look at the last several years, since KD's left, they have not put the type of shooters that would help Russ develop his game. Last year, you could see he deferred to Paul George. Paul George was playing spectacular, but who else have they put around him? I'm talking about knockdown shooters that Russ, once he gets into the lane, he's got viable options to dish the ball out compared to shooting a much more difficult contested shot at the rim.
Which is why Miami might feel like, but we will do a better job than OKC has done at surrounding him with talent. We will be able to present him with another all-star caliber player in Jimmy Butler, who's already here, a player in Jimmy Butler who a lot of people thought Jimmy Butler and Paul George were nearly identical in like player rankings going into last season. Now, Paul George had a far better year than Jimmy Butler, and Paul George right now appears to be the better player.